Hey everybody, welcome to the What Did I Play video for the week of July 4th, Independence Day to July 10th. So let's get to the board and video games that I played during that week. We actually went away for the 4th, or the weekend after the 4th, so we just got back and we went up to New Hampshire and played a lot of games. There was a lot of people up there. It was kind of a rainy weekend, so we got a lot of board gaming in. So I'm going to go through these kind of quick, pop up some pictures, light explanations about each game. Some of these you've heard of, most of them you've heard of before, or I've mentioned in the video. So we started with Seven Wonders, played a full game of Seven Wonders, played it with the, I think it's the Leaders expansion, where you get the leaders like Caesar and everything that act just like the other cards. Good, Seven Wonders with 7 people, I think maybe 8 you can fit with the expansions. It's good, I don't mind it. It plays really quick, that's always the saving grace of Seven Wonders, with how many people can play the game. It plays in about a half an hour. Didn't win, and you know, outside of that, that's really, I think I prefer duel over full Seven Wonders at this point, but that's it. Played full game Seven Wonders. Played a little bit of Jaipur, just played one game of that. It's the marketplace trading card set collecting game, 2-player game. It's good, I like that game a lot. It's easy to set up, play, and it goes really quickly, and you don't have to think too hard, but you have to think just enough. It's a good filler kind of game, so that's it, Jaipur. We played St. Petersberg for the first time. It was my first time. I think this game must be out of print or something. It's on Amazon, but it's for a lot of money. And it's basically a 4-player game where you go through different phases collecting cards that come up, workers, then buildings, and noblemen or aristocrats or something, and they give you various points. It's a very Euro thing. A lot of card collecting, sort of trying to build an engine to get money in each of the phases to go on, and you get the most victory points at the end by having the most buildings, something like that. It's good. It feels like an older Euro. It feels like something that could be refined a little bit more than what it was. I enjoyed playing it. It could probably go quick too. You could probably play it in about an hour if you had everybody firing on all cylinders. But it was good. It feels like the skeleton of a Euro, kind of like it could go somewhere else. You could add another function or another feature or something. It would be a little bit better. But I enjoyed it. St. Petersburg. We played a lot of Roll for the Galaxy, which is quickly reminding me that it's one of my favorite games, I think, to play. I love the dice rolling mechanic. I like the way that it plays. I like how quickly it plays. You know, getting out to 12 things on your little tableau, 12 planets or developments or whatever. It feels like the right amount of time before you start forgetting what the abilities are that you're getting, so it's kind of timed very nicely. You can't really rush it. What happened in one of our games was someone rushed trying to complete the 12 things, and they did it with all very low value, and they didn't win the game, but they ended the game. So it's balanced like that. It's a very difficult game to explain, though. We found it's a tough game to sort of understand what you're supposed to do, and I don't know why, because once you get it, it's very, very simple. I think it's a lot of the terminology and the different things you can do in each phase of the game that get a little bit confusing for new people. But outside of that, really enjoy it. I like Roll for the Galaxy. It's we play it with 2 sometimes, but it's not really as good at 2. You just have to change it by you roll one white die and see if that phase triggers. But it's great with 5. It's a lot of fun and quick playing, the right length of time and strategy, enough variety to keep you coming back for more. I don't think I need to pick up the expansion at this point. One of the weirder games I picked up and I brought up there to play was Public Assistance. It's this game from 1980. I got it on eBay because one of my friends brought it to my attention that he wanted to see like a review or do a review or play it and give our thoughts about it, do like a podcast. It's a game from 1980. It's disguised as a kind of parody. It's a re-theme of Monopoly, basically, and it's sort of a parody of the welfare system, except it does that thing that the right wing can't avoid. The racist part of the right wing, it's not all right wing people, but the racist part of the right wing has this thing where they just can't go after the welfare system without being a little bit racist on top of it. So it's this super dated, horrible game that plays like a bastardized version of Monopoly, and it's just instead of community chance or community cards and the chance cards, it has like working person's burden and welfare promenade or something like that. And so you're trying to stay on the welfare track because it gets you a lot of money, and if you're on the working person track, you have to spend all your money on taxes and everything. You know, typical haha parody of the welfare system. But it just can't help itself but just put in all these little racist things like the welfare track. People go to basketball games, and in the working person track, they go to baseball games. It's that kind of like subtle, white people like baseball, black people like basketball. It's a really stupid game, and it's really horrible. It's more interesting just that a game like that ever came out, and it was sort of, you know, had like a brouhaha when it came out, but it's interesting. I'll probably do a video on it. It's a terrible game. I wouldn't recommend buying it. It's a terrible game outside of like the theme, which you could rescue that theme and make it like a true parody, but as it stands now, the game is just too racist to be comfortable in like mixed company, unless you're comfortable with racist board games, I guess, which I'm sure there are people out there who would want to do that. But that's it, Public Assistance. Its subtitle is Why Bother Working for a Living? We played Evolution without the Flight expansion, because I don't really like the expansion for Flight. I don't think it's necessary at this point, but we played Evolution, which is quickly becoming one of my favorites. We did it with 4 and 3. I think 3 is the ideal number of people to play with. So 4 might be just as good because it ends the game a little bit more quickly because there's more people taking up all the cards. The carnivores are still a little underpowered, either that or no one really understands how to use them properly. Intelligence seems like a prerequisite to play a carnivore, but it doesn't really always work out, and I think I tend to cling to the carnivores a little too long when they're not working, and I should just get rid of them. But Evolution's really good. It's really great, quick to play, easy to understand card game where you build traits off of species and you try to eat as much food as possible, and the winner gets the most food by the end of the game. It's really clever. It's kind of a nice combination of theme and gameplay mechanics, and I think it's really worth it, even though the Flight expansion, I don't think it even fixes the carnivore problem, really. It just adds another, it might somehow, I've only played with Flight once, so I don't really know the nuance of it, but it just feels unnecessary at this point, so I'm going to stick with the base game. But I like it, Evolution. And we played a couple social deduction games. There was One Night Ultimate Werewolf, which is always a standby. People play up there. We played with 9 people. Still don't like the vampire thing. Still don't like the vampire expansion, I guess. We just played the regular base game. We also played the Mars Attacks game. I forget what it was called. Everyone was calling it Mars Attacks, but it's like Martians to Mars or something like that. It's social deduction. Basically like a Battlestar Galactica retheme where everyone gets a roll, and you get DNA strand that goes out each round, and if you get a Martian DNA strand, you become a Martian. You're trying to screw up everybody else. Everybody else is trying to win the game by accomplishing task cards that get dealt out, and you can donate money or you can donate resources to other people's task cards to try to beat them. The Martians are trying to give negative numbers to those to cause them to fail. That was okay. All those light games, Dark Moon and this Martian game, I'd still rather be playing the Battlestar game, I guess. It's longer, but it feels more fulfilling. I don't know. Those social deduction games just aren't really my thing. I'm not into, I like One Night Ultimate Werewolf. I don't like the other ones where you have to kind of pretend, and then it becomes obvious that you're the Martian, and everyone knows it, but you still have to put up this facade about you're not being the Martian. It feels very forced and a little bit silly. That's it. Those are the board games I played, a whole bunch of them. Seven Wonders, Jaipur, St. Petersburg, Roll for the Galaxy, Public Assistance, Evolution, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and the Martian game that I can't remember the title of. Only video game I've been playing, I played a little bit of Binding of Isaac and Rocket League up the condo, but we mostly have been playing Final Fantasy IX, played like 2 hours of it so far. Really slow to get into. The first 2 hours you don't really do anything, you don't have much control, but it's always been a favorite Final Fantasy of mine. It's good to play it on the Vita for once. I'm 2 hours into it. Just got into like the ice cave, your first glimpse of the world map. Things are going okay. Music is great. It's really well shot, which is something I'm noticing as I'm getting older. Like the opening scene, just where the characters move between the screens of like the castle that you start off in is really well directed. Like the camera angles and everything are really nice. And it's kind of, you forget how much time they put into these scenes that are basically only in the game for like 3 seconds as you run through, and someone had to render produce the art for these things and create the art and get the pictures of it and everything. It's cool. You understand where the budget for those Final Fantasy games went, and it's interesting to notice that as an adult, and since I haven't played it in a long time, to notice where all the money goes, how the little things you don't notice when you're a kid, when you're just sort of playing it through for the gameplay and maybe the story factor. But it's been interesting. Final Fantasy IX. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I will be back next week, hopefully, if I get a couple games in, and I'll see you then.